The hacking group Anonymous is over his proposal to ban Muslims. The warning came in a video the group posted online.
Brace yourself. An ethical hacker claims a total purge is looming, with thousands of online predators facing infiltration and exposure within the next 21 days.
Traditionally, a black hat hacker is one who is not bound by any kind of ethical code, willing to break the law.
Their darkest secrets, meticulously extracted from an illicit website with 3,000 plus users, will face the light. No one is safe, not even the notorious criminals who believed they were hidden across the deep web. Discovery of a disturbing website. In the realm of the internet, most users stay on the surface, never suspecting the dark corners that lie just out of sight. But one day, everything changed for a determined hacker who stumbled upon a nightmare, a website where thousands of users traded horrifying content. This site was not hidden behind obscure encryption alone. It also existed on the regular web, inviting anyone with an evil purpose to apply. The hacker, known for his skill in finding security flaws, decided he could not look away. Through a vulnerability in the server, he inserted 3 backdoors, collecting enough information to expose each member of this community. Thousands of people had shared personal details, like IP addresses and emails, without realizing someone could uncover their identities. Some members used their real faces or phone numbers, making it easier to trace them. But the hacker knew he was treading on thin ice. Accessing their server without permission could mean he was breaking federal law. Despite the legal risks, his moral compass guided him to gather everything he could and alert the proper authorities. He found chat logs where moderators demanded child exploitation content in exchange for access to even darker private groups. The hacker noticed that more than a few people openly discussed disturbing fantasies and boasted about abusing minors. One father uploaded a photo of his child in a bathtub, teasing a horrifying plan for that night. The comments from other members were even worse, suggesting a circle of predators egging each other on. Convinced the government would jump on this goldmine of evidence, the hacker reported the site and its owner, a man named Nathan Larson. But the response was silence. No big media outlet ran the story, even when the hacker offered to remove all illegally obtained material from the record. He only wanted to warn parents and shame the criminals responsible. When Larson was later arrested for kidnapping a 12-year-old girl, the hacker's worst fears were confirmed. The authorities had known about the danger but failed to act in time. With frustration building, the hacker joined forces with several YouTubers who confronted predators face to face. He also became the CTO of Sentinel Foundation, an NGO working with law enforcement. Determined to expose more offenders, he now dedicates his efforts to protecting children who might otherwise have no voice. Yet the data gathered on thousands of other predators remains untouched. It stands as a sobering reminder that justice can be too slow, if it comes at all. Hacking and evidence collection. Sometimes the greatest threats hide in plain sight. That was the case when an ethical hacker named Ryan Montgomery discovered a dark online community with thousands of users sharing horrifying content. Alarmed, he decided to use his hacking skills to expose them. After spending hours analyzing the site, he found a security flaw that allowed him to install backdoors, gaining access to private data. It was risky because simply entering these servers without permission violated federal law. Yet Ryan reasoned that saving innocent lives was worth potentially facing grave legal consequences. Armed with evidence of abuse, he prepared for the next step. He carefully exfiltrated user data, including IP addresses, emails, and chat logs. By consulting an attorney, he verified that collecting text-based evidence would be the safest route. Even so, each moment spent within the site's infrastructure felt like walking on a razor's edge. He knew if law enforcement perceived his actions as vigilantism, he could face hefty penalties. Nevertheless, the conversations he witnessed were enough to keep him going. People on the site used coded language like cheese pizza, to swap illicit files and planned horrible acts against children, apparently believing they were invisible. As part of his evidence collection, Ryan kept meticulous records of usernames, timestamps, and private messages. He refused to download images or videos, fearing he might unintentionally become complicit. Instead, he stuck to chat transcripts, which detailed shocking fantasies and even direct threats. Some users bragged about harming children, while others asked for help obtaining illegal content. Ryan's attorney repeatedly warned him about the risks, but the real danger in his mind was letting these predators continue unchecked. He believed any reasonable person, if confronted with these scenes, would agree that intervention was crucial. Ryan reported everything to the authorities, providing detailed user logs and even the site's owner's personal details. Yet, to his shock, no rapid action came. Stung by the lack of response, he approached various news outlets, hoping they would warn parents and help track down offenders. But legal departments blocked his story, citing concerns about using information obtained through hacking. Frustration mounted, driving him to find alternative channels. Despite the setbacks, he refused to quit. By teaming with groups specializing in predator stings, Ryan shared what he had uncovered. He also joined a specialized non-profit, working in step with law enforcement to build solid cases. His evidence, though gathered at great personal risk, became invaluable for safeguarding children, proving that moral duty sometimes outweighs legal boundaries. Reporting to authorities and media. After hacking this horrifying site with over 3,000 active users, the main goal was to alert the proper authorities and warn the public. The first step involved contacting the FBI through the Internet Complaint Center at ic3.gov, providing all the relevant details, including the site's owner, Nathan Larson. The hacker believed that he had a slam dunk case because this place was crawling with predators openly discussing their monstrous plans. Yet, despite submitting everything that law enforcement might need, they got no meaningful response. Growing more concerned for children's safety, he reached out to various news outlets, including major names like the Sun Sentinel, Daily Mail, Business Insider, and even Fox, to share what he had learned. At first, many journalists were eager to shine a light on the disturbing content. However, once the legal teams of those news organizations stepped in, the story was shut down. They cited worries about handling data that was illegally obtained through hacking. This was a blow because the hacker believed a public warning could help parents protect their kids. In a desperate attempt to salvage the situation, he offered a compromise. Remove all references to the hacking itself. Simply report that the website existed and that children were in terrible danger. Even then, no one took the opportunity to print or broadcast a single word about it. He was dumbfounded that the media, known for covering sensational stories, would refuse to warn the public about something this horrific. For the hacker, it was clear proof that large institutions, including both law enforcement and mainstream media, lacked urgency when it came to these hidden corners of the web. Meanwhile, the site's owner proved to be as dangerous as suspected. Months later, he was arrested at an airport with a kidnapped 12-year-old girl in tow. If the news outlets had released an alert during those 6 months, or if authorities had acted on the original tip, perhaps that child's fate would have been different. This realization left the hacker feeling both angry and heartbroken. Despite a mountain of evidence ready for use in court, no broad action was ever taken against the thousands of predators still lurking online. To this day, the hacker keeps the files safely stored, waiting for the moment when someone in power decides to follow through. He hopes the public will someday discover just how close they came to getting an early warning about these criminals, and wonders if anything will change to prevent future tragedies soon. Frustration with inaction. Ryan's frustration soared. Each day, he realized how many children were at risk and how little was being done to protect them. After hacking and discovering a vile website with well over 3,000 users, he carefully collected the data, hoping law enforcement would swiftly act. He passed on everything, including usernames, IP addresses, and chat logs. Yet days turned into months, and no real change happened. He recalled the father, who proudly posted a photo of his own child in the bathtub, boasting about the horrors planned for that night. Reading the comments left by other users made Ryan sick, but it also fueled his resolve. In his eyes, there was no time to waste. He contacted the FBI's tip line and reported the entire website, believing a mass takedown was imminent. However, the silence from authorities was deafening. Determined to spread the word, Ryan reached out to major news outlets, expecting the story to spark public outrage. Most journalists expressed interest, but their legal departments refused to move forward. They worried about running into legal trouble because Ryan had hacked the site to gather evidence. He even offered to remain anonymous and remove any mention of his methods, focusing only on alerting parents. Even then, he faced closed doors. Things reached a boiling point when the site's owner, Nathan Larson, was arrested for kidnapping a 12-year-old girl. Authorities had previously been informed about him and his horrifying online hub, yet they still had not taken action. Ryan was crushed, convinced a child's life could have been saved if someone had listened to him sooner. He kept asking, what more proof could they possibly need? The inaction drove Ryan to unite with other predator-catching groups, equipping them with case dossiers so that offenders had no place to hide. Together, they confronted predators, sometimes even forcing them into admissions. While these independent operations felt a bit like vigilante work, Ryan's goal was always to see people arrested, not just shamed on social media. When the weight of it all threatened to break him, Ryan found renewed purpose with the Sentinel Foundation. Working alongside former military and law enforcement, he could do more than one-off stings. Yet the haunting truth remained. So much evidence waited for proper use, while so many predators roamed free. For Ryan, the biggest frustration was the knowledge that lives continued to be at risk every day without true intervention. He hoped that someone would step up. Collaboration with predator-catching groups. When Ryan first stumbled upon a website filled with predators, he was shocked by its massive user base and the disturbing content they shared. After gathering as much evidence as he could, he reported everything to law enforcement, yet no decisive action was taken. Frustrated but not defeated, he turned to the only people he knew were actively doing something: the small community of online predator catchers. These individuals, mostly YouTubers, carried out stings by posing as minors and confronting would-be abusers. Yet despite their passion, most lacked the resources and detailed information needed to pressure criminals into staying put or confessing on camera. Determined to help, Ryan offered his unique skill set. Using open-source intelligence, often called OSINT, he dug into phone numbers, IP addresses, profile photos, and anything else these predators carelessly shared while roaming the internet. With this information, he built elaborate case files, sometimes noting workplaces, family ties, and home addresses. Armed with these details, predator catchers now had a powerful edge. They could walk into a confrontation fully informed, calling the predator by name, referencing real-life details, and warning of potential police involvement. This tactic drastically cut down the chances of the suspect fleeing or offering phony excuses. Ryan found deep satisfaction in seeing these confrontations yield results. Watching a video of a predator cornered by personal data, obviously terrified that his wife or boss would learn about his actions, gave Ryan renewed hope that some justice might be served. Unfortunately, the threat of public shame alone was rarely enough to ensure actual arrests. Many times, the predator would flee or the confrontation would not result in legal consequences. Even so, every small victory, like having a predator fired from a job or identifying vital evidence for police, felt like one step closer to the goal of protecting children. Yet working as a lone wolf had its downsides. Ryan faced accusations of vigilantism, a label that could undermine him in court if any criminal charges were contested. Seeking credibility and a more effective partnership with law enforcement, he joined the Sentinel Foundation. This group, staffed by former military and homeland security professionals, focused on bringing down entire trafficking networks rather than single offenders. Now, Ryan's contributions carry more weight, and cooperation with law enforcement is significantly smoother. In hindsight, his experience collaborating with YouTubers and other small groups paved the way to something bigger, an organized and systematic approach to dismantling the predators who hide behind screens, hurting children while believing they will never be caught. Joining the Sentinel Foundation, one of the biggest turning points in Ryan's journey came when he realized he couldn't continue as a lone ranger in his pursuit of online predators. Every day, he sifted through appalling chat logs, exposing child abusers and alerting local predatory sting operations. While these efforts produced some results, like ensuring predators faced online shame, they often stopped short of actual arrests. Ryan feared being labeled a vigilante if he kept working alone. Authorities often disregard evidence gathered without an official mandate, and he sensed his discoveries were being pushed aside. He found the Sentinel Foundation, staffed by former military and law enforcement professionals dedicated to saving children from trafficking and exploitation. By operating under their umbrella, Ryan could share evidence with seasoned investigators who knew how to present it in a way that held up in court. Joining the foundation also meant adopting a structured process for each investigation. Unlike before, where Ryan might pass files to YouTubers or small sting teams, now every piece of evidence underwent official review. The Foundation's partnerships with Homeland Security and other agencies streamlined the path from collecting data to mounting charges. For Ryan, this was a game changer. Instead of focusing on individual predators, he was contributing to the systematic dismantling of entire networks. Another benefit of belonging to Sentinel was the moral and emotional support offered by team members. Many of them had first-hand experience in law enforcement, where they witnessed horrors similar to what Ryan found online. Their presence reminded him that taking on criminals of this magnitude required patience, strategy, and discipline. Ryan also appreciated that the group understood the complexities of his position. They, too, were driven by a desire to defend children at any cost, and they knew the personal sacrifices involved in the work. Through Sentinel, Ryan's investigations gained new respect, increasing the likelihood that authorities would treat his evidence seriously. Momentum started building. Arrests deepened, and entire networks faced real consequences. The group's backing provided a shield against claims of vigilantism, allowing Ryan to operate within proper legal boundaries. With this framework, his efforts to rescue children finally aligned with law enforcement's protocols, enabling him to bring about true justice. He was no longer a lone hacker, but part of a powerful force dedicated to uprooting evil at its core. In hindsight, joining the Sentinel Foundation was a defining step in Ryan's mission. At last, he really felt optimistic that his hacking skills, combined with legitimate procedures, could move mountains in safeguarding innocent lives.